So let's talk infusing geek culture into play therapy. So for those who are new to geek culture, I think it's important to define what is that. When we talk about geek culture, what do we mean? It can be defined as a subculture of enthusiasts that's traditionally associated with obscure media. So for this training in particular, and for the trainings that it's an addendum to, we're specifically talking about media such as anime, comic books and superheroes, tabletop RPGs, fan fiction, and video games. Now, as I say that, and we're talking, oh, that's geek culture. Well, what's really important to notice, I think, and make a connection to is that a lot of these things that are called, quote unquote, obscure media within geek culture are actually really pervasive within play culture and in children's culture. That these are topics and interests that translate really beautifully into the existing play landscape that kids are participating in right now. So when we think about, anime, what are we talking about? We're talking about animation, animated media. And again, in quote unquote mainstream culture, that animated media is developed for kids or targeted towards kids, although I think all age groups can absolutely love and appreciate it. I know that I do. Comic books, who are those originally intended for? Who are the audiences that are intended for that? When we think about tabletop RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons, when we define that, we're like, well, it's pretend play for adults. Oh, who else is really great at pretend play? Kids. It's a really important developmental skill. So we can bring that in there. When we talk about fan fiction, creating stories and or novel stories and narratives from existing characters. Like these are things that kids have always done when they are, say when I was a kid a long time ago and Star Wars came out. And then I would pretend to be Princess Leia or Boba Fett, or create stories and narratives around these favorite characters to whom I really identified. There's such a beautiful marriage of what today is called fan fiction in these, older, I would say older populations, but that kids really gravitate to very naturally and create stories around naturally, the characters and media that they are invested in. And then video games. Video games are an exceptionally important part of our current play landscape for kids. So having a grounded understanding in kind of the video game culture that exists today, I think is exceptionally important for play therapists and really anyone who's working with children. While we can have discussions about, whether, the benefits or the consequences of the play landscape shifting away from like kids going outside and playing, like, oh, we're just going to go outside and play until dark, to kids transferring those kind of play activities into electronic play with video games, that video games are a very important part of children's play today. So as therapists, having an understanding of that and being able to translate that into our work with kids is so important.